What's going on, Bills Mafia? I'm Fernando Schmude, that's your leading the charge. And today, a post-game show. It's not very common on my English versions of the leading the charge to be able to have this opportunity to talk Bills post-game. It's normally something I do every Sunday in the leading the charge in the Portuguese version for Brazilian Bills Mafia and Latin American international fans. But today, thanks to this Thursday night football win against the Miami Dolphins, I have the opportunity to talk a little bit of Bills post-game show, post-game reactions, post-game thoughts about this amazing win against the Miami Dolphins. So, welcome to the show. Hit that like button, subscribe to Rumblings Network channel, and support us out there. A lot of shows are back there with Buffalo Rumblings obviously supporting us as well. John Boccacino is back. Bruce exclusive is back. Uh, Jay Spence the King, Sarah Larson, all great shows. Big Jamie D and Big Newt, all those guys are back with great shows, and I'm pretty sure it's worth your time to take your time to listen to our shows, Bills Mafia. I really appreciate your support. Please hit that like button. Subscribe to my own Fernando Schmude channel as well and support it. And also for you that are listening, not live with me on YouTube now, but listening on your favorite podcast aggregator. You can listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Prime, and the list goes on. Megaphone. So you have several options. Support us there, rate us there, and we count on you. So, Bills Mafia, without further ado, let me talk about the today's subject. Obviously, the Bills win. We have some people already in the chat, so feel free to talk in the chat to give me your opinions as well. Patrick is here and he's saying something in Portuguese, but let me translate for you. How about this Von Miller guy? 2 sacks in the 2 first games. Is he a new signing? He jokes about it. And yes, it's been great to see Von Miller back in form and looking more and more like his old self, right? Instead of that guy that we saw last season, and it was really a ghost of the former Von Miller self. So it's awesome to have him back playing at a high level. And I will talk a lot about this defensive side of the ball first. I will start from there, talking about this win from last night, and then move on to offense. So feel free to give me your opinion as well. Renan is here in the chat as well with yes, sir. Go Bills. So let's talk a little bit about this game last night, right? And my first thoughts about it, and I said it actually in the Portuguese version pre-game show, how I wasn't really big time worried about this matchup against the Dolphins. I know a lot of people were a little bit scared about their speed, about the how explosive that offense can be, right, or could be. But I wasn't really worried about this game, to be honest. Obviously, it could go both ways. The Dolphins could have won this matchup, no doubt about that. But until this Dolphin team can prove me that they are a real contender for this Bills team, I won't be afraid of them. That's a fact for sure. I know we have a big time advantage at the most important position. Obviously, when every time Josh Allen steps on the field and he face off against Tua, I'm totally confident that we have the advantage there. Even though the Dolphins have great schemes and have great weapons at Tua's disposal, I trust Josh, I trust 17, and I believe the Bills have enough to be productive, to play well, and to beat the Dolphins any day, right? And again, it's not just about the quarterback, but also about playing in the trenches, and not just in the trenches, but playing physical brand of football on all three phases, right? I Every time I see the Bills playing the Dolphins, this new version of the Dolphins and this latest interaction of the Buffalo Bills, how I can't help myself but to remember about uh, circa 2010, those Jets, Rex Ryan Jets teams, and they had great defenses. they weren't anything special on offense, but they were really physical, right? Their offensive line was really physical. And back in the day, obviously, for people who were too young to remember, they think the Bills sucked badly, but it's not like this. The Bills were mediocre, and they had some talent. They had some good teams. It was kind of exciting to see that offense led by Chan Gailey as the head coach, and Fitzpatrick in his best moment as a Bill, and Fred Jackson, C.J. Spiller, Stevie Johnson, all those guys. We had an exciting team, right? Even though it wasn't a real contender, and we were able to have a great win against the Patriots, playing at home and being really explosive. So, but that team never could face off well against the Jets, and the reason why is because Rex Ryan Jets teams were always more physical than those Bills teams. They were always bullying that Bills team around. They were always pushing them around. Their offensive line was creating holes and establishing the run game. Their defensive line was shutting down our run game and making us one dimensional. So why am I mentioning this matchup from 2010, 2011? Because when I see this Dolphins team with a lot of big time names, Tyreek Hill, Jalen Ramsey, so it's easy to look at the depth chart and believe that okay, these Dolphins might have more talent, all right, more individual talent. If you look at the wide receivers, probably in a draft we would take Tyreek Hill and then Jalen Waddle before taking any Bills wide receiver on the board. So it's undeniable that the Dolphins have the more established names already. The maybe the more talented guys, it's questionable, but if you look at the names in the depth charts, it's fair to think of something like that. But the truth is, every time the Bills face off against take on these Miami Dolphins, our offensive line dominates. Our defensive line dominates. Uh, let's be honest. McDaniels, he has a lot of people give props to him because he's from Shanahan tree and he's creative. His offense can be explosive. Let's be honest. Sean McDermott has coached around him, has outcoached him on almost every matchup against the Dolphins. Sean McDermott, now Babbage also as well as the defensive coordinator. They've been able to outcoach McDaniels. When we have trouble in the playoffs against Andy Reid, against the Chiefs, we are quick to point out how Andy Reid, Spags, all those guys could be better than McDermott and outcoach him in the playoffs. So when the opposite happens, we gotta give props to Coach McDermott as well, and he's being able to dominate against the Dolphins. He's being able to play in a way that the Miami Dolphins offense simply can't get big plays against us. Tyreek Hill has been held under control on every matchup against the Bills. I don't think he has 100 yards yet against the Bills, adding all his games against the Bills as a Dolphin. So McDermott, Babbage, the schemes, they have been on point facing on the Miami Dolphins. And all those things always give me uh, hope that the Bills are the favorites against the Dolphins. All right. I couldn't see them as an underdogs last night. And when the ball flew, it was pretty clear that the Bills were the better team. Even if you look at the depth chart and you see the better names, like the most famous name on the Dolphins side, as a team playing together, the Bills have the better team. It's pretty clear on every matchup against the Dolphins. And the advantage at the quarterback position. So you add the Bills having the best quarterback, being the more physical team, and playing better together. It's difficult. Those are a lot of hurdles for the Dolphins to to be able to surpass, and it hasn't happened. The Bills has dominated against them, and last night was another proof of it. So those are my initial thoughts about those duels until the Dolphins until they can prove that they can be physical enough to compete in the trenches, to be able to establish a run game, to be able to push the Bills defense around, to be able to push the Bills offensive line around, man, it will be tough for them to compete against us in this head to head. And last night, again, it was proof of this. And I'm glad it is like this, and I hope it continues this way, right? So, going for units now. Let me start talking about this defensive side of the ball, the Bills' defense against the Dolphins last night. And again, all props to Coach McDermott and to Bobby Babich. It starts with them, their schemes, their preparation, their plan for the Dolphins. I was very anxious and curious to see what they would have prepared for this Dolphins offense, because in week one against the Cardinals, we saw two different Bills defenses, right? We saw in the first half Bills defense playing soft coverage, not being aggressive, trying to rush just four and play zones and force Kyler Murray and the Cardinals to make mistakes. And it wasn't working out. Let's be honest. Kyler Murray, people just want to be worried about the Bills, and they forget that on the other side you have an opponent that prepares for the game as well, that wants to have a great season as well. So Kyler Murray had a really good game against the Bills, and the Cardinals' offense isn't that bad. Let's be honest. I believe this Cardinals' offense will give some trouble to a lot of people during this season. Can I be wrong? For sure, but I honestly believe they can give a lot of trouble to some people, and they were giving the Bills trouble in the first half in week one. Why I mentioned this week one game? Because in the second half, the Bills adjusted and started to be more aggressive, started to blitz more, started to um, even put themselves at risk sometimes, being a little bit more exposed to some big plays when they were sending more pass rushers over Kyler Murray, trying to push that pocket over him and trying to force him to make quick decisions instead of having all day long to shred this Bills defense, the Bills zone schemes. And it was one thing he was having success with. So the Bills changed the approach and had a lot of success in the second half, blitzing, pressuring Kyler Murray, being more aggressive. But it was pretty obvious that the Bills ideally shouldn't do that from the beginning of the game against the Miami Dolphins, because the Dolphins had the schemes and maybe the playmakers, and especially the speed to burn the Bills defense if they were too exposed to them, right? We know Tua likes to get rid of the ball fast, so sending blitzes from the get-go and not getting there, not getting home with those blitzes would expose the Bills secondary a lot, would put the Bills in a bad situation, having to tackle all those speedsters on open field. So we saw a Bills defense again playing more rushing for, being patient, right? And right in the first offensive drive by the Dolphins, we see a great play by Christian Benford, who I will talk more about later, and the first interception of the game, right? And in the second Dolphins drive, we saw the Dolphins patiently being able to move the ball and and move the chains, drive downfield, and in scoring a touchdown. And that second drive kind of scared me a little bit, because I really felt like, okay, we lost Terrell Bernard, big time loss. And it felt like if the Dolphins can be patient and they can run the ball a little bit, throw a screen here and there, move their speedsters around, and get the most of the opportunities in the middle of the field with some mismatches with Dorian in coverage, with Spector in coverage after Bernard got out. Maybe they would be able to drive that ball downfield all game long and put us in some trouble. But what happened in the very next drive, in the third offensive drive by the Dolphins, is they couldn't be patient again. And Tua forced the ball downfield to Robbie Chosen, and Spector was well positioned, and Benford was well positioned as well. So he had to fit that ball between those zones run by Benford and Spector, and he overthrown Chosen and threw his second interception of the day. So uh, the Bills bet on the Dolphins not having enough patience, and it worked out. So it's sort of kind of like when people started to use this recipe against the Bills. People used to play two safeties high, back off the coverage, and kind of force Josh to throw checkdowns, expecting him to not have enough patience and throwing, forcing something downfield and trying to take advantage of that. That's what the Bills did to the Dolphins, and it worked out. HN give us some trouble with the run game, but we knew it wouldn't win the game for them unless he could score on some big plays, and he couldn't. He was kept in check, so he got his yards, he got his carries, but he didn't really have an impact that put us in trouble because the Bills were living for the next down, were living for the next opportunity to take advantage of a Tua mistake, of a ball forced downfield and intercepting it and making them pay, and that's what our defense did. So shout out to McDermott, shout out to Bobby Babbitt, and to all the Bills defensive players to playing really, really disciplined football, patience football. They really played zones in a better way than against the Cardinals. Against the Cardinals, we saw Terrell Bernard several times pointing out and showing people they were in the wrong position. Yesterday, we could see people doing their 111 really, really well, being in position, forcing the Dolphins to fit, especially Tua, fit those balls in difficult windows. And the pass rush, even rushing just four, could win, could get the job done. Oh, but Greg Rousseau didn't have a sack. It doesn't matter. It's obvious that after a defensive player of the week performance, the Dolphins would double him, would pay attention to him. But it's kind of a pick or poison situation with this Bills defensive line because Ed Oliver, who was doubled all game long against the Cardinals, got more opportunities and was able to get his first sack of the season. Von Miller shows that he's really back. Von Miller is 100% back, and good luck with that if you are giving him one-on-one opportunities because that guy, I always told you, he didn't forget how to play the game. He didn't forget how to rush the passer, and he still has some freakish athleticism. So good luck stopping Von Miller one-on-one with those spin moves, with all those repertoire that he has, all that arsenal that he has at his disposal as a pass rusher. So Daquan Jones, he's a force. So the Bills have the pieces to pressure quarterbacks when they hold the ball for too long. And they did it against the Dolphins with great performances. AJ Peneza had a good game after what was, in my opinion, a lackluster week one performance. So it was good to see the Bills defense, the defensive line, especially dominating. And the second level, even without all three starters, the guy that I thought and I had in my preview and my prediction for the season, the guys that would carry this defense, in my opinion, all three are out. We lost Milano before the season. We lost Taron Johnson in the first drive against the Cardinals, and then Terrell Bernard in the first or second drive against the Dolphins. All three stars, superstars of this defense, out, and we have people stepping up. We have new stars being born. So that's the most impressive thing about this Bills defense. And I want to single out some guys. So I already singled out Von Miller, Oliver, Greg Rousseau, a little bit of Daquan Jones and Jay Peneza. But how about those defensive backs? Because or cornerbacks right now, I won't be I won't be a homer, despite a lot of people at Buffalo Rumblings reading my text and commenting on the forum and the comment sections, calling me a homer sometimes. I have some questions for you because it seems everything that I was preaching before the season on my text there, on my articles, has been happening. And I know it's pretty early and I know a lot of things can go wrong still. And I also believe it's pretty fair to question the quality of the opponents. Okay, maybe the Dolphins aren't that good, right? They have a lot of veterans, a lot of names, but are they that good? Maybe not. They didn't have a good game against the Jaguars in week one as well. And they definitely were lackluster, performed lackluster last night. So maybe they aren't that good, right? The Cardinals, I believe they're good on offense, but their defense is pretty questionable. So is it fair to question the opponents? Maybe. But one thing for sure, good teams they beat bad teams badly, and we already know how good Bills teams look like, and our good teams. Maybe not last season. We had some trouble last season, but good teams 2 seasons ago, 3 seasons ago, the good Bills teams were stomping over bad teams. We didn't see Josh Allen playing many fourth quarters 2 years ago, 3 years ago. So we know how a good Bills team looked like, right? And last night showed was a good Bills team performance, stomping on this Miami Dolphins, this questionable Miami Dolphins team. And don't come with any Tua injury excuse because it happened when the game was almost uh, sealed out, right? I couldn't see the Dolphins reacting at that moment, despite Tua being able to convert that fourth down. They were already at desperation mode. So I really believe this Bills team is a good team, just like I told you. I hate to be that guy who's always like, I told you, but I told you, right? I told you this team would be good. And I have some reasons to believe that. And I don't know why. I don't know how people got so negative and so worried about this Bills team before the season. I get it. A lot of turnover, a lot of big names leaving the team. But let's be honest. Look at Jordan Poyer. Look at Micah Hyde. We can't honestly look at the Damar Hamlin's performances this season, Taylor Rapp performances this season, even Ken Lewis, who's playing in Taron Johnson's role, but he's played as a safety as well. We can't look at those performances and say they have been worse than Jordan Poyer and Micah Hyde last season or 2 seasons ago. I always told that we found those guys, right, as free agency gems, as free agency steals, and for their prime of their careers, we were paying below their market value. They were playing at all pro level and getting paid as solid starters, right? Or even top backups in the league. Those were the contracts that they signed when the Bills brought them in. And obviously, for the last 2 seasons, we paid them more than they were worth at this point of their careers. I know people get attached to the names and people get attached to the former performances, but those guys aren't the same elite players they were in the past anymore. And Taylor Rapp playing as well as he's been able to play. Nothing special so far, but playing well. Damar Hamlin, same thing. Did he make a lot of special plays, game-changing plays like Poyer and Hyde used to do in their primes? No, they didn't. But they've been able to play at the same level we've seen Hyde and Poyer playing recently, with all their experience, with all their knowledge of the defensive schemes and all the comfort level they had in this defense. So those guys having their first opportunities, they are playing at the same level at minimum. So that's impressive by McDermott, by the coaching staff, of having those guys developed and prepared. But it also shows that those guys that went out of the team, that left the team this last offseason, they weren't that important anymore. It was pretty clear for some people. Unfortunately, not for most of the people, right? And or corners, my goodness, those guys, if they aren't a top, one of the top tendons in the league as a cornerback tendon, they are certainly, in my opinion, the most physical CB tendon in the league, right? Benford and Rasul Douglas, those two guys are big guys. They are strong. They aren't the fastest guys, but they are physical. They know how to play zone. They are the perfect fit for what McDermott likes to run on defense. And My goodness, those guys are playing so well. It's a thing of a beauty to watch those guys playing in these Bills schemes, reading the quarterback eyes, erasing wide receivers that go to their zones. They don't play a lot of man coverage, but when they play man, they can hold their own. We saw Benford following and staying step on step with Tyreek Hill on a deep pass and almost getting an interception, taking advantage of outside leverage that he was in. So it's a thing of beauty to watch those guys playing like this, right? We lost Tyrone early, and Ken Lewis has entered and being as physical as Tyrone. I don't see him capable of replicating what Tyrone gives us as a coverage nickel corner. But Ken Lewis, he plays way bigger than his size. He's been there filling the run game, tackling a lot without fear, and being extremely physical, playing extremely well. So the safeties I already said. In the end of the game, we saw Cole Bishop having his first NFL opportunity. We saw Mike Edwards playing a little bit, and both of them made some good plays as well in garbage time already, saving potential touchdowns. So it shows the Bills have a lot of good pieces, and we don't even know who are our best safeties. Are our two best safeties playing as starters right now? I can tell for sure because Mike Edwards is an experienced guy, won a couple of Super Bowls with the Buccaneers and the Chiefs. He's an experienced guy. He can, when he's in his top condition, he might be the best safety of this room. Who knows? Bishop, this guy has the best athleticism of this group. He's a stud. He's strong, fast, big. He showed with a tackle and a pass breakup what he can offer, right? When he can be all the time in the right position to make the plays, will he be a worse option than Rep and Hamlin? I don't think so. Ken Lewis is playing out of position as a backup nickel, but he can play as a stud safety as well. So we have five names capable of stepping in and holding their own as safeties, right? So it's impressive. It's impressive by the coaching staff. It's impressive by being on finding those guys. It's impressive by the Bills schemes, especially when you can get people in and playing so well, so quick. So shout out to Coach McDermott, to Babbage, and to all those guys playing at extremely high level, right? Now at the linebacker position, we are being forced to test them the same way I'm talking about the secondary because we, just like I said, we lost the top guys of this defense in Tyrone, Terrell Bernard, and Matt Milano. Great news about Bernard today, right? It wasn't a torn pectoral. It's a strain. He will miss from 3 to 6 weeks. And at this point, I think it's big time news and a blast for the Bills to just missing Terrell Bernard, losing Terrell Bernard for such a few weeks because this guy is the heart and soul of this defense. Despite all the big time effort by Spector, who I thought was getting better as the game went on, but he's nowhere near Terrell Bernard's level in terms of communication, in terms of um, being able to get around the blockers and make the tackles as a blitzer and in coverage. So Spector did a respectful job, but the Bills need Terrell Bernard back for the long run. And thankfully, he will be able to recover and be back. And I will choose to look at this cup, the glass of water, half full and not half empty, right? How? It's better to lose Tyrone. It's better to lose Terrell Bernard. It's better to lose Matt Milano now instead of losing them just ahead of the playoffs, right? Just what happened last year with Bernard, with even with Rasul Douglas, who played on a boom knee against the Chiefs, right? So it's better that it happens right now because the Bills will give some opportunities for Dorian Williams, who played really well last night, stepped up after Bernard left the field, made a lot of huge tackles. He's really great against the runs, extremely physical, extremely aggressive. He's still getting better in coverage, but he has the traits, right? It was just like I said, Spector was getting better as the game went on. So It's good to see as well. We have Buffalo Joe, who wasn't active last night, but he'll be an option now on. So it's good to get those guys some playing time right now because when the time comes, right, and well, by playoff time, ideally we have Bernard back, we have Milano back, we have Taron Johnson back, and that's awesome. But in case those guys need more time, in case those guys can get back, in case we lose those guys again near the playoffs, we won't have AJ Klein coming straight out of his couch to fill in, right? We'll have a Spector who already had some games under his belt. We'll have Dorian Williams, who's been a starter all year long. We'll have Ken Lewis, who's been starting in Taron Johnson's absence. So we'll have guys with experience, guys that have played and have played well, with confidence to step in and play well during big games in the playoffs. So looking at the good side of all those injuries right now, the Bills have time to recover those guys, and the Bills can get some backup, some experience, and maybe just maybe we can get to the playoffs with a situation in the linebacker group similar to the situation in the safety room when whoever plays there, we are kind of in the same situation. We aren't panicking because we lost Damar Hamlin or we lost Taylor Rapp. We have the guys to step in and play well. Hopefully, we can feel the same way about the linebacker position because last playoffs, we know for sure we didn't feel like this, and it showed against the Chiefs, right? So that's the good side of all those injuries, and hopefully, Terrell Bernard can recover and be back soon. So changing sides of the field, talking about the Bills offense, right? The Bills offense didn't need to do much last night, but let me tell one thing. Despite losing Diggs and Gabe Davis and other guys that played as starters, Mitch Morse and the offensive line, this team has looked really good. And I will go further. I don't know if Josh Allen was ever or had ever more help than he has right now. And some people will call me crazy because they'll tell, come on, Fernando, Stephon Diggs is still better than our best wide receiver right now, right? Or come on, our offensive line was better with Mitch Morse and his experience. Or even some people will still be fooled by that big game, Gabe Davis game against the Chiefs in the playoffs 3 years ago and believe he was a better wide receiver too than what we have right now. Let me tell one thing. The best version of the Bills offense that I've seen recently was the team that beat the Patriots with the perfect game and then lost in the 13 seconds game when the offense won that game twice in the last 2 minutes, and unfortunately the defense couldn't hold the Kansas City Chiefs. That was the best version of the Bills offense that we've had recently under McDermott, maybe. In that offense, despite being so good, it was flawed. It was a flawed offense because back in the day, despite having Diggs, despite having Gabe, right, and having Brian Dable as an offensive coordinator, that offense um, really needed Josh Allen being Superman more than this offense right now needs Josh Allen being Superman every single drive. Okay, back in the day, and I really believe that was one of the things that Dable and McDermott uh, clashed about was Dable wasn't afraid of going to those games and airing out. Who doesn't remember that game against the Seahawks where when the Seahawks blinked, they were losing like 21-0 and the Bills threw the ball 17 consecutive times to open the game and and steamrolled over that defense. Dable wasn't shy of throwing the ball, airing it out, giving Josh all the reins and letting him cook, right? But it put a lot of pressure under Josh for sure. It put a lot of a lot of things over his shoulders. The Bills' run game in that offense was Josh Allen. We tried to run the ball a little bit with Motor Singletary, Zach Moss, but our offensive line couldn't really run block. We weren't physical enough as we are right now. And if I'm not mistaken, Aaron Cromer just got back after that year as offensive line coach. And that's a coach that I really love and I really value a lot. And when Cromer says one thing, I trust that guy about offensive linemen because he knows what he's doing there. And so back in the day, the Bills didn't have that run game working. We needed when we needed to run the ball, it was all about running Josh, and we needed to air it out a lot, and obviously Josh airing it out a lot. And I want to show you one thing. Let me put it on the screen. I have some Josh Allen stats here, courtesy of ESPN, and look at those numbers. In 2 weeks, Josh Allen has 371 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 83.6 QBR, 68.4 completion percentage. Um, no, it was from the last game. His completion percentage right now is 73.8 completion percentage. He completed 31 of 42 passing attempts, 73.8 completion percentage, 371 yards, 8.8 yards per attempt, 3 touchdowns, 0 interceptions, 124.2 quarterback rating. Look at those numbers. Let's be honest. We've seen under Dable. We've seen on that Bills offense that was amazing. Josh putting up kind of similar numbers like this, not with that height of completion percentage, 73.8, or not maybe without any interceptions. Maybe we would have at least one interception here. 3 touchdowns, 1 interception, but throwing the ball 42 times, throwing over 300 yards, a little bit over, almost 400 yards. Those are numbers that we were used to see Josh Allen putting up in a single game, and not uh, along 2 games, right? So I know we love to see Josh Allen balling out. We love to see Josh Allen airing out and hurdling over people and running around, making plays. It's fun to watch. It's awesome. And we won a lot of games playing like this. But it put a lot of stress on Josh Allen. It's undeniable, right? And if you look at this offense right now, we don't have Diggs, we don't have Morse, we don't have Gabe Davis, but we have a real run game. It's been like this since Brady took over, and it's getting better and better. Morse left, McGovern moved to center. David Edwards shootout, big shootout to David Edwards. He's playing really, really good in those couple of weeks. And this offensive line is nasty. They are balling. They are being physical. They are being able to attack and to be physical and to establish the run game. And it gets them going. It makes things easier for them to pass block. They have less pass blocking snaps. They have uh, the play action threat to help them. They already were physical establishing the run, and they can gas those pass rushes a little bit. The pass rushes aren't always attacking, and the offensive line always in passive mode, trying to pass block. No, they've been able to be physical, to attack, to establish, to impose their physicality, and it has helped this offense a lot. So Josh hasn't been. It wasn't needed in the last 2 games to complete over 20 passes to be able to score points to win the games. So it's a big time help for Josh. Josh played last night, like it or not. His hand was injured, and it is a little bit worrisome. It for sure bothers him. It's not cool to play with something bothering you. Even though it's not his throwing hand, it bothers him to have his fingers tied up, to handle the ball, to need to wear that glove that he's not wearing normally. So it bothers him for sure. To have a clean game like last night where he had to maybe make some plays 3 or 4 times, scramble and find Ty Johnson over Jalen Ramsey. Shout out to Jalen Ramsey, always finding ways to get cooked by Josh Allen. Um, he could buy some time in a third and long and find Khalil Shakir in the middle of field with a laser that only Josh can do this kind of throw. So he needed to do that a couple of times, at max 3 or 4 times during the game. Other than that, he played from the pocket, clean game, didn't get hit much, protected his hand, threw some screen passes to Kincaid, and moved the chains with the run game. So he could do that. It wasn't even needed that he run the ball in the goal line situation. They could run it in with James Cook and the offensive line again, being more physical than the Miami Dolphins defense. So it was good to see. It was good to see Josh Allen playing point guard last night. It won't happen every day. We know we need MVP Josh more often than not, maybe, especially in the playoffs. But we know a healthy Josh Allen delivers in the playoffs. Look at his stats in the playoffs. Look at his performances in the playoffs. Okay, we know we have the quarterback to win it all. He has shown it. We haven't lost because of him. Okay. In fact, he's not a Super Bowl champion so far because people has let him down around him. The coaching staff in the playoffs, other players in playoffs, his superstar wide receiver dropping a 60-yard bomb, other superstar wide receiver too, who can't even fight for some contested catches. Look at the pass that he forced to Keon Coleman last night. It was only Keon Coleman target. He scrambled to the right side, almost stepping out of the field. He threw that to Keon Coleman against Jalen Ramsey and gave him an opportunity to go up and bring that ball down. Ramsey was all over Coleman, but he was right there with his hands, and it was or a catch by Coleman or an incompletion. No way Ramsey could intercept that pass. So I was tired of watching Josh giving Gabe Davis some opportunities, and he wasn't even trying to come back for the ball. And then we saw a lot of interception being thrown his way. So no more things like that. No more Stephon Diggs on the sideline showing the tablet and showing the plays and showing how he was open and how he wanted the ball and where Josh should go with the ball. Enough of that. We don't have that anymore. Now we have the superstar being the superstar of this offense. Josh Allen is the superstar, and he's the point guard, and he defines if he will be a simple Ricky Rubio point guard like he was last night, just sharing the ball, distributing, making some plays just here and there, but simply giving assists to others, or if he will call his number and become prime Derrick Rose and go all over it and making the plays himself and scoring and carrying that team, right? So it's good to have Josh in that position. It's good to have Josh being able to take a breath, take some time without being Superman and just facilitating stuff to the Bills offense, handing off some balls to the running backs and letting them cook with the offensive line opening nice holes for the run game. Sometimes simply throwing a quick short screen pass to Kincaid. I'll talk a little bit about him shortly, or finding Khalil Shakir in a short pass, or even a swing pass to his running backs, right? So it's good to see Josh being able to just facilitate, play point guard, and not need to be the man on every single game. And the defense gave the Bills the ball in good field position, so they could do that. And obviously, the offensive line, the run game, allowed Josh to simply do the easy stuff and be the point guard in this big time Bills win. So the running backs, James Cook, great game. He's making great reads. He's being very patient, even stopping behind the offensive line, trying to find a hole and then attacking it aggressively. Good to see. Then you have Ty Johnson, who's the floor and protects the ball and can make some plays and can pass protect Josh and can even run a route and make a big time play in the passing game. Solid pro, a guy that they can trust. And then Ray Davis coming in and being extremely physical, having his moments as well. Ray Davis is promising. It's nice to see the Bills having, again, a nice combination of weapons in the backfield, offering different traits, um, different skill sets, and being able to complement each other. And about the pass catchers, we could see in this game against the Cardinals, Kincaid was totally covered. They tried to break him all the game and tried to take him all game long out of the game, and it worked in the sense of taking Kincaid out of the game. But they were exposed to all other Bills pass catchers, and the Bills could have success. Right. Last night, I gotta watch all 22, obviously, but it seemed like Keon Coleman had Ramsey over him most of the time. So Josh was smart with that because no reason to test Ramsey with a rookie if you have several other options at your disposal. So it doesn't matter if Coleman will have a game without a catch and with few targets, or if it will Curtis Samuel who's being injured. And I tend to believe that's the reason he hasn't been incorporated more in this offense, right? But I believe his role will grow as the season goes on and he gets healthier. And but I feel like last night there was an effort to get the ball to Kincaid early, right? Kincaid got that screen pass as the first play of the game. It was a play that we run for Diggs last season a couple of times early on in games to get the ball in his hands. I could see the Bills early, first drive, trying to feed Kincaid, get him going. And there are a lot of advantage doing so because the defense will need to pick their poison. You see the last game and Kincaid didn't do much. Then you start the game and the Bills are feeding Kincaid play after play. So you are forced to make a decision. We will adapt your defense to try to stop Kincaid and be exposed to the Bills doing the same thing they did against the Cardinals, or you're gonna live with those gains again by Kincaid and you let him burn you all game long. So choices gotta be made, right? And Kincaid made some catches, then got invisible a little bit, but he had his role, and the defense had to pay attention to him in the middle of the field, and it opened it up to Khalil Shakir, who was the team leader in catches, and seems to be I really believe he's our next superstar wide receiver. All right, um, people don't have him as a superstar, but he has crazy numbers going back to last season through this season that just began, and he has a crazy number of targets and passes catched, and like just two of the last 35 passes weren't caught by Shakir. So it's crazy. His percentage, is awesome. It's awesome, and he's continued to grow. And no matter if the team is giving him more responsibility, he continues to take them and to prove he's capable of being that go-to guy to Josh. So it's great to see. I really believe by the season's end, we'll see a lot of recognition to Khalil Shakir. We'll see a lot of recognition to Kincaid as well. On the defensive side of the ball, we'll see people uh, giving recognition to Christian Benford a lot. So new stars are being born in this team, and it's big time props to the coaches, to their schemes. Brady is cooking, Babbage and McDermott are cooking on the defensive side of the ball. So it's their work, their development, and obviously the players being wanting to become more, being ready to contribute when their numbers are called. That's what has contributed to this Bills team, surprising a lot of people, right? And a lot of people that called me a homer and said, "Oh, Fernando, you are talking about the best case scenario." And I always told you, like, not really, because we don't need every single weapon playing great, right? And let's be honest, Curtis Samuel, he hasn't had an impact so far, but we haven't needed as well because Shakir has stepped up. Keon Coleman is playing better than I expected in the first few games, right? Kincaid is doing his part. The running backs are playing great. McGovern, Edwards, the offensive line continues to play at the same level as the last season. So guys have stepped up. They have great schemes. All those players, they have great mentality. They aren't divas. They aren't thinking about themselves first, but the team first, right? So they are willing to execute these schemes, to play the way their coaches are asking them to. And everybody doing their 111th, as McDermott loves to say, this team is really good doing so. And that has been the Bills so far, and that's the Bills I believe we will see all season long. A group of great players, not awesome players, not all pro players, but a group of good players executing their roles properly, right? And with that, becoming superstars because everybody wanna find superstars on winning teams, right? Nobody is gonna give props to Davante Adams is playing great, but the Raiders can't beat anybody. Nobody cares about that, right? So when you look at winning teams, they are Super Bowl champions. Who are the superstars? And you will find superstars in those teams. The Bills right now, they don't have many superstars in name, but they will have soon. As soon as we make the playoffs again, win the division again, right? And I really believe this time we are for now better prepared to deal with the Chiefs and whoever else appears as an opponent during the playoffs. Um, let's be honest. People love to name Diggs, name Gabe, name Poyer, name Hyde. Last playoffs, we didn't have Hyde. Poyer made a great play. Let's be honest. He made a game-saving play after that fake punt, but that was it, right? And Diggs was out there dropping passes, important passes in the biggest moments. Davis wasn't there, right? Tre'Davious White wasn't there. So when the Bills needed the most, we had Josh showing up, but we didn't have other guys showing up. Our run game showed up last season against the Chiefs last playoffs. We had the run game in the first half. It forced the Chiefs to adjust in the second half, but we didn't have our pass catchers. We didn't have our star wide receiver making play. We didn't have our defense playing top-notch football. A lot of injuries. It obviously hurt a lot, but Josh didn't have sorry the help he needed to beat the Chiefs, and he still almost got the job done, right? Bass missing a field goal. He just missed another one last night. Week one, he was perfect, but he did that poor kickoff that right in the most important moment before a potential game-winning drive for the Cardinals. He has a mistake in a kickoff, so it's been tough for the special teams. They are kicking all kickoffs now out of the end zone. They aren't even trying to make people try to return and giving them 10 extra yards by the new rules starting at the 30. So it's not cool. It's not good how our special team has looked and how Bass has looked. It's difficult to trust a guy like this. And we know when we get to the biggest games, we need to trust our kicker. So it's some things to be worried about. I feel like it's really sad to see so guys getting injured, but the Bills have 11 days now to recover for the Jaguars, and the Bills, they are a well trained, a well coached team, so they will be tough to beat, no matter if they are in a bad day, no matter if you are playing the best team in the league, they will be tough. And last playoffs, they were tough against the Chiefs. They, in fact, gave, alongside the 49ers, the biggest run for their money in the playoffs last year. Um, and it happened without Stephon Diggs contributing. It happened almost without a defense against the Chiefs that day. Josh Allen and the run game was able to put us in the game and almost win that game for us. So with that said, imagine if we go to the playoffs with the run game working properly, if we go to the playoffs with most of the starters back in the defense playing so well, And even if we miss some of the starters, we have replacements that can play so well as the replacements have been playing so far. So I really believe I'm not a homer when I say the Bills made some changes in the group, and McDermott has again a voice that has been heard for the first time for several players, and they are buying in. And when players buy in and do their job and play their roles properly, when you have good schemes, you will win more games than not, especially those good schemes that McDermott has established during regular seasons. It's not a coincidence that the Bills have been one of the biggest winners in regular seasons in all American sports since McDermott has arrived. What he does works for regular season. Fernando, but in the playoffs we need better. That's another story. I agree, and I believe McDermott has been getting better little by little, and I believe he will be more prepared for this postseason this year again. He has new voices helping him. He has young coaches as his coordinators. He has even some help in form of the guy helping him with challenge decisions and penalty decisions. So he's getting better. Josh Allen has developed way faster than McDermott. Josh Allen was ready to win a Super Bowl before McDermott was. It's a fact. But I hope this season McDermott can prove that he can continue to get better and finally be ready for the playoffs and have the tools as well, especially on defense, to be able to contend and to finally get the job done in the playoffs. So I feel confident about this Bills team. I'm not overreacting about 2 games because I've been saying this all along. I've been trying to tell you all along since the offseason that the Bills have enough pieces to contend, to win the division, to get to the playoffs, and to be a tough opponent for anybody again. So it's up to them now to continue to develop, to get to the playoffs healthy, and be able to finally take the next step in the playoffs. Okay, Bills Mafia. So thank you for joining me today, for listening. Shout out to Picasso Pizzas from Buffalo. They sent some pizzas for our Rumblings Network team. Thank you to Sara for making the contact and Picasso Pizzas from Buffalo. They are supporting Buffalo Rumblings for a long time already, and now the Rumblings Network. Unfortunately, I'm in Brazil, so the pizza wasn't delivered here, right? And it's unfortunate. Maybe Picasso's can open a franchise here as well. It would be awesome, right? But until that day comes, I need to find a way to go to Buffalo, watch a game, and enjoy a little bit of Picasso's pizza. It would be awesome. So shout out to them. Shout out to all the team. Please hit that like button, subscribe to Rumblings Network channel, to Buffalo Rumblings, with all the content in the Buffalo Rumblings website as well. A lot of great shows on Rumblings Network. I have my own channel, Fernando Schmude channel. Subscribe there as well. Support me to keep creating content, not just for you in America, but also all over the world. Brazil loves football. The game here was a huge success, and Brazilian Bills Mafia is growing. Brazilian Bills Mafia is growing, and it will continue to grow because I really believe our Super Bowl is coming soon. So support my job, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel. I really need your support, and I really appreciate it. Thank you so much to everybody who was with me today, and I'll be back on Sunday with the Portuguese version of the Leading the Charge, for all Brazil, Latin America, international fan base. So check it out on Sunday. A shout out. See you next Friday, and go Bills.